Hey, Stampers, it's Judy Klock here at Stampin' with Crafty Klock, coming to you tonight for another little demonstration. And tonight I am featuring another one of our retiring stamp sets, and this is Art Gallery. It has the matching stamp sets and dies. And this is a really pretty set. I like the way you can use it to create beautiful floral images very quickly. And tonight I'm going to show you the same design, but we're going to make two cards using the same design. One will be a simple stamping card, and one would be one that's a little bit more stepped up with die cuts and a whole bunch of things. So let's go ahead and get started. So let me show you our simple stamping card is going to be just a very plain, simple, straight cut. And we're just going to do that little two-step stamping. And then we're going to step it up. And we're going to use, it's basically the same design. And I am using the Retiring Colors Mango Melody and Pacific Point. But we've just changed it up a bit. We added a die cut for that floral image to sit on. We've actually stamped and die cut both the leaves and the flower. And then we've added a little sentiment down here. Then again, that was die cut and popped up on dimensionals. But essentially, it's the same design. So you can see how you can take one design and move from simple stamping to something a little bit more elevated. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So our base for our first card is going to be our Mango Melody. And this is a standard card base. It is 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored at 4.25. I'm going to add a piece of plain white, plain basic white to the inside. That is going to be 4 by 5.25. And then I'm going to stamp our image on a piece of plain basic white that is just 4 by 3. So that's all we're going to do. So before I do that, though, I want to go ahead and I want to give this background some interest. So we're going to take our Mango Melody and we're going to use what I call the sort of the open floral image. There's one that's more solid, and this is kind of the overlay image. So I am just going to ink this up with our Mango Melody, and I am just going to stamp this on my card front just in a random pattern. I'm going to sort of turn the stamp every kind of which way, and I'm just going to add some color and shape to our card base. Okay, so now don't worry too much about the middle because that's going to be covered up by our floral image that we're going to stamp. So just put on as much as you want. I'm just going to put a little bit more there, maybe just a little bit more. Turn this like that, put it like there. Okay, so I'm just going to add maybe just a little tiny bit more there. Okay, so we're just adding some interest to the front of our card. So now we're going to take this piece. It is 4 inches long, 3 inches wide, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to stamp our floral image. So I've got some old olive here. I'm going to stamp the stem and the leaves, kind of right down there in that left corner. Give that a good stamp. And somebody was asking me how you can tell if you've gotten a good stamp and it's all going to adhere. So when you put the stamp on the paper with the photopolymers, if you look at it, you can tell when the ink is completely adhering to the paper. It's hard to explain. Let me see if I can explain it. So I'm going to stamp the floral base, the flower base in Pale Papaya, which is also retiring. So as I put this down, I can see that it gets darker when it touches the paper, and when the areas are light, I know that that part of the stamp hasn't touched the paper yet. So I can push it down more until I see all of that becoming dark. Then I know it's completely touched the paper. Okay, so now we're going to take that Mango Melody, our overlay stamp, and we're just going to stamp it right over there. Now, these won't line up perfectly, but you'll see there's like a little divot kind of in the base of the flower. That's where the stem goes. So if I just kind of make sure that I put that little divot in the flower right at the top of my stem, I'm going to get this lined up pretty well. Okay, and that looks pretty good. It's never meant to be a perfectly aligned image like overlay, because it's supposed to look like it's painted, or, you know, like a painting. So now we're going to move this out of our way. All right, we're going to take, and we're going to add some ribbons. We're going to put a little bit of Stampin' Seal on the back. And if you guys hang around to the end, I'm going to give you a sneak preview of our 4 new core colors: Lemon Lolly, Azure Afternoon, Pecan Pie, and Bubble Bath. And I was looking for the ribbon. It was right in front of me. Now the scissors, which I literally just had, and I don't know where they went to, but I'm going to add a piece of ribbon to the back, and I'm going to fold it around, and I'm going to just attach it to the other side. And then I'm going to cut it, if I can find where I put my scissors that I literally just had. Okay, hang on while I go. I don't know where they went to. The gremlin, oh, they're over here. The gremlins come in and they move stuff that you just had seconds ago. Okay, so now we've got that. Now we're ready to put this on our card front. So I'm going to add stamping dimensionals, and I'm going to add them in the 4 corners, and I'm going to put 2 in the middle, because this is a fairly large piece, so I don't want it to cave in the middle. So my box of new goodies came today, so I haven't really gone through it all, but I did want to give you guys a little sneak peek. So I pulled out the 4 new core colors to show you. They're really pretty. They're really, really pretty. All right, so now we've got that. Okay, now I'm going to cut off just like another 4-inch piece of ribbon, and I'm going to tie it in a knot. I'm going to slip it underneath the ribbon that's on there, and I'm just going to tie it in a knot. This is a really quick and easy way to make sort of like a pretty little ribbon accent without a lot of work and having to worry about a bow. So if you like to use sort of like the cheating method like I do, there you go. Now let's add some rhinestones, because we always like a little bling. And then we're going to call our simple stamping card done. So like I said, this was really easy, really quick. Okay. Sometimes this pick tool works well, and sometimes it doesn't. I think I had too much putty hanging out the end. Okay. So, but the putty end is really good for kind of picking up these little gems, just placing them wherever you want. Okay, so that is our simple stamping card. There was nothing elaborate. I guess the hardest thing we did was that 2-step stamping, but again, it was pretty easy to line up because that flower had the little divot in it. So really pretty stamp set. This will be a pretty Mother's Day card, a pretty, birthday card. Or let's put our piece of paper on the inside. Let's do that. And you're probably wondering why I picked Pacific Point, not just because it's a retiring color, but blue and orange are complementary colors. They're opposite each other on the color wheel. So that means that they really pair nicely together. So that's our first card. Okay. Let me know where you're watching from. Go ahead and, give me a shout out. Or if you're watching a replay, let me know where you're watching from. I always love to have people tell me where they're from. There will be a blog post up tomorrow with all of the measurements and the supplies I've used for these cards. So, don't worry, it'll be there. All right, so our next card, we're really going to step it up. So let's go ahead. And again, we're going to add a piece of plain basic white to the inside. I've already die cut a piece of basic white using the scalloped contours dies. These will carry over, so these will be in the new catalog. So I was excited to see that because they're just such a pretty set of dies. Let's go ahead and add this piece to the inside. As long as we are on the inside, let's get this finished. All right. So now for this one, okay, we've got that. Now I did something a little bit different for this one. I didn't really want to use Pacific Point ink on it because that I think is very dark, but I still wanted kind of that tone on tone. So I took our Versamark, and for this one, I'm using the first stamp, like the like the solid. I guess I call this like a solid stamp. But let me wash it because I had pale papaya on there. Let me just rub it on my stamping shabby. Get that cleaned. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull my Stampin' Pierce mat. Again, these are photopolymers, so I like to use our Stampin' Pierce mat. And I'm just going to stamp this solid flower in our Versamark. Now, as this dries, it will get darker, so it will become darker. All right, so this is going to give us a little bit of a different look than the open overlay flower that we used on our Mango Melody card. Okay. Definitely a much more solid look with these. Okay, and there's a little tiny bit there. Okay, so that is all we're going to do for our card base. So again, very similar to what we did for our simple stamping card, but we are doing it just a little bit differently. All right, so that's all we're going to do for that. Now we're going to take this and we're going to stamp these separately because we're going to die cut them. So I'm going to stamp our leaves and stem. Okay. All right, so we're going to stamp our leaves and stem. Okay. And while I have the green out, I'm going to stamp a thank you because we're going to use our little thank you. Let me stamp that kind of right there so I can cut that. And then we're going to stamp our flower image again. Okay, and again, we're going to stamp that solid flower in our pale papaya. I just put the little thank you there. That's all I did. I didn't realize that was off screen. Apologize for that. Okay, so now we're going to stamp our flower. And again, you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but it gets darker as I push harder. And that's how I know that the ink is adhering and I don't get those spots. So when you're using the photopolymers on the clear blocks, you actually can look at it and sort of see whether or not you're getting a good solid stamp where you're not going to have those bare spots because the ink didn't really touch the paper. Okay, so we're going to come back in. I'm going to line this up. Again, I have that little divot there. I'm going to line up the divot in this flower with that. And I'm just going to press. Okay. And there we have that. Now, just close this up because I am a mess. All right, so now we're going to take our dies. So we have the flower die. We're going to cut that out. We're going to cut out the leaf. And we're going to use this little labels die to cut out our thank you. So that will take over to our stamp cut and emboss machine. And when we're done, we end up with these three pieces. Okay, so now we're kind of ready to get this together. So the first thing I want to do is I want to attach my leaves, and these I'm going to glue down. And this is pretty thin, the stem, so I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue. And although it is very lovely here today, my house is very cold. That's why I'm wearing a long sleeved t-shirt and a sweater, because we have decided my husband and I are not thermostatically compatible. My daughter was laughing today. I texted her, I said, Dad has the AC on and I have the heater on in my office. So that just goes to show you how we like different temperatures, like really different temperatures. So she was laughing at that. All right, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to flip this over. We're going to add some Stampin' Seal, and we're going to add that ribbon. Now that I have found my scissors, we're going to add some ribbon to the front, and this pale papaya ribbon. I love this sheer ribbon. It's so pretty, but this will be retiring. So if you love these really sheer, pretty ribbons, now is your time to buy them because they will be gone come May 2nd. Then we're going to add our Stampin' Dimensionals. Maybe, there they are, underneath my card base. And again, I'm going to put on about 6, two in the middle and 1 on each corner. So the 4 corners and in the middle, 2 in the middle. Just because, oh gosh, this is such a large piece that you don't want the middle to sort of sink in when it's on the card. So I just like to give it that little bit of extra support. So be sure and catch my blog post for one design, 2 cards. All right, so we're going to put that there. All right, now we're going to add this. We're going to put this on some Stampin' Dimensionals. Oh my gosh, I've got ink all over me. That's okay. Did you really stamp if you didn't get ink all over yourself? Okay, I'm going to add that right there. And we're going to add our ribbon like we did last time. We're going to just kind of slide it under. Sometimes I like to leave it on the roll until I tie it so I don't waste too much, but I think that's good. So we're just going to tie this in a knot. Ooh, it's slipping. Okay. All right, we're going to just trim this up a little bit, just a tad long. Okay. All right. Then we're going to add our little thank you. Now, this is kind of thin, and I'm out of the mini dimensionals. I have to buy some more. Can you believe with all the stuff I just ordered with the pre-order, I did not restock my Stampin' Minis, my mini dimensionals. So I'm just going to cut the edge piece because this is pretty narrow, and that will work perfectly for this little piece. Or you could cut a big one in half. I mean, it's fine, but this will work perfectly. I'm going to add the little thank you. And if you notice, I have a little ink splotch down there. And look, that's perfect. It'll cover that up. So we can always cover our mistakes, right? Nothing is not fixable. And if worse comes to worse, just get some new paper, because it's only paper. The fate of the free world does not hang in the balance when we're creating. Leave site. What the heck? I don't know what's going on. Cancel. That was very strange. I got a very strange message from Google. I don't know why it asked me to leave the site, but that was very odd. Okay, we're almost ready. We're going to preview some of those new colors. So I hope you stuck around to kind of get the little preview. And one more. I'm going to put one more right up there. So those are our 2 cards for tonight, featuring the Retiring Art Gallery Stamp Set and Dies. And we've got our Retiring Mango Melody and our Retiring Pacific Point and the Retiring Pale Papaya Ribbon and Pale Papaya ink. So we've got a couple of retiring things in here. So those are our 2 cards. So you can see simple stamping, and then we stepped it up. Very similar in design. We kind of changed the background image just a little bit, but I think that they're pretty cards. So I hope you like them. All right, so now, because you stuck around till the end, drum roll. So these are the 4, we had 7 new returning colors and 4 brand new colors. Okay, so this is Pecan Pie. All right, it's a very soft brown. I think it's a little bit softer than the Cinnamon Cider that we had. So very pretty. I'm very excited about this color. All right, next, this is Azure Afternoon. And again, it's softer than Pacific Point, but I kind of think in the same vein. It's, a little bit deeper blue, not quite as bright as Tahitian Tide, not as dark as Night of Navy, but I think this will be a nice complement, a nice tone in all of our blues. Okay, I think these 2 are my 2 favorites. This is Bubble Bath. This is a beautiful soft pink. I have been wanting a nice soft pink. Blushing Bride was a little bit off for me, and Petal Pink was kind of too pale. So I think this is like just a beautiful, soft baby pink. Really pretty. And then this is Lemon Lolly. How gorgeous is this yellow? I have wanted like a really soft, pretty yellow for a while. Daffodil Delight's very pretty, but it's very bright. Crushed Curry, a little too orangey brown for me. Soft Saffron, I didn't really like that one. So I am very excited for Lemon Lolly. So these are our 4 new core colors that are joining our color families. So we have Pecan Pie, we have Azure Afternoon, we have Bubble Bath, and we have Lemon Lolly. So these are 4 new core colors that are joining us. So I will probably do a complete unboxing video tomorrow afternoon with all of my new stuff. I just didn't have time before this segment. So, but anyway, I hope you like it. Be sure to check out my blog post. And if you want to catch my previous video from this week, it was featuring the retiring daisy garden, and it kind of just shows you how to add a little pop of color with the daisy garden to make a really quick and easy card. All right, that's it for me. I will see you next week. Happy Passover, happy Easter. I hope you all have an enjoyable weekend, get to spend time with your loved ones, and I will be back next week. Bye, everyone.